customer journey. Think of it as a treasure map or whatever with the little dotted lines and the different dots along the way.
Yeah.
Like that's the customer journey. What are the stops they make digitally before they make a purchase with you? And so I've broken this down into 3 basic things along this journey that you have to move the customer through these 3 things. The first thing is they have to know you. The second thing is they have to like you.
Come on.
And the third thing is they have to trust you.
Yeah.
And once they know you, like you, and trust you, they will buy from you.
Yeah.
And it's really super simple. Not always easy, but it is simple. And you can think about that. The same thing with friendships. If you have a really good friend, you know them, you like them, and you trust them. If they're missing one of those things, it's probably not a great friendship. So anyways, same thing with working with a company. Sometimes, depending on the situation, these 3 things happen really fast. If you have an emergency plumbing situation,
Yep. You better
know
get
you,
to
like, you, trust you. Trust you might be out the window.
Yeah. I just need to know you and like you. Yeah.
I might just need to know that you're a plumber.
Or you just like in trust and no goes out the window. I don't even need to know you. I just like this guy and
I don't know about that. Not when it comes to plumbing.
Yeah. Mess your whole house up.
So let's unpack know you a little bit. If somebody doesn't know that your business exists, they're not going to do business with you. That seems pretty silly,
Right.
but it's the truth. You can't just start a business and not tell anybody and expect to have any customers.
Yeah.
But in the same way, even if you're a small business and you don't do a lot of advertising or sponsorships, or you don't have a lot of signage or whatever, people don't know that you exist. So the things that fall under know you would be like your advertising, whether it's a yard sign, if you have trucks on the road, retail signage, brick and mortar, any video that you've done, social media, even word of mouth. All of these things can lead someone to know who you are.
Yeah, I was just going to mention too really quick as a caveat, know you, like you, and trust you are always happening. If you're earning money, those things are happening. Now, the question is at what scale are they happening at?
Sure.
So even if you've been 100% word of mouth business and you've been incredibly successful, you haven't really needed to market. Well, know you, like you, and trust you are still happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not happening the way that we would say is a scalable way to scale to a certain point. And so, yeah, I think of the small businesses that have been around, like in just rural Pennsylvania, like Manheim and Mount Joy or whatever, like an auto industry type of vibe or whatever, mechanic.
Yeah.
A lot of the times those places aren't running ads on Facebook.
Sure.
But people know them because there's a need. And so people word of mouth, that's the knowing. That you show up, how you treat that person is I like you, and then I trust you to get the job done. But there is a threshold for every business where you will have to transition from not knowing or being intentional with these 3 categories. That's all. It's worth noting that these are happening. Yeah. It's just like it's a spectrum almost.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's also worth saying that when you talk about being known or people knowing you, there's levels to how effective these different things are. So if somebody discovers you on social media organically, that's more powerful than if they discover you on an ad.
Yeah.
Almost every time, because if it's an ad, they know you paid for it. They paid to get into your world. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, it's just not as good as organic. The same way, like, word of mouth is the ultimate. If I say, hey, Pete, I know you're currently looking for an electrician. Here's the guy I've been using for 5 years. He's never let me down.
Yeah.
Great pricing. Does great work, great pricing. You're immediately going, well, here's somebody I trust telling me about somebody that they trust.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you can move all the way through know you, like you, trust you in one bout just because of the right word of mouth. Right. Now, you know,
the opposite is true too.
The opposite can be true if the person who's telling you this is not somebody that you trust, or they've given you recommendations in the past that have fallen through, or they're like, it's my cousin, which is cool, but you want to take a moment and let me check out their website. Let me just make sure that they're legit. Let me see if they have the certification I'm looking for, whatever it might be. There's different levels of know you.
Yeah. And I was also going to say too, like, even as we're talking about know, you can know of something or you can know something. And I don't want to be too like philosophical, but there is like this slight difference of, well, I know of that. It's very kind of surface level. Yeah. And I know that. And when you develop a good brand and you develop trust and stuff, trust comes later because that's one of the pillars, but Yeah, there's this sense of if somebody walked into your place and they had a good experience, a good vibe, they're like, yeah, I know that place. I've been there. I know what it's like versus I know of it.
Yeah.
And we really want people to have that organic. That's the most powerful, is someone finding you online or in an organic way, and to really say, I like your content and I know you.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're moving from know you to like you, this can be really fast. This can be years.
Yeah.
There are, to use your auto mechanic example, because that's now stuck in my head, there are mechanics in Mountjoy that I've never done business with, but I know them. So I don't know a whole lot about them, but I know they exist, but I'm pretty happy with the people that I use. And so I've never attempted to do anything else. So I don't know if I like them or not, but I know them. I don't know if I trust them or not.
You've never made the leap from no to because you already have someone that you know and can trust.
In my case, yes, but at one point I didn't.
Yeah,
and I went off word of mouth for that, and I can actually remember how I found the people that I work with.
But if, let's say, your auto place were to shut down and you are now in a spot where you need to go and know someone, like someone, and trust someone, that makes you vulnerable. Like that puts you and the buyer in a position where they feel there's a little bit of vulnerability there, because you're like, it's like making a new friend. You have to be open to that transition too. So I say that to build empathy for us as business owners, for the people that are shopping and browsing around. Like, I think even empathy, we talk about that later on, but understanding that it does take, you have to have empathy towards your buyers and your customers, because they're looking for something.
Yeah.
And you're trying to introduce yourself as the solution to that thing that they're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. When I first started thinking about the customer journey in these terms, I didn't have like you in the mix.
Yeah.
I actually it was just know you, trust you, buy from you was like what I thought about. But over time, I realized that like you part of it is actually really important. This is where you talk about empathy, where you talk about people's problems.
Yep.
This is where the like you part of it is where you're able to be a little clever, a little creative. You can be super clear, which is important to us, like taking time to develop a clear message.
So as you're speaking, I keep saying these pillars, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I think very visually.
Yeah.
As a designer it would, but I'm envisioning know you, like you, and trust you as these three massive pillars of like stone, right? And you build bridges from pillar to pillar. And as you're like, and then you walk across. So as you're in the know you phase, you're planting seeds of like you, right? Does this make sense?
Yeah, I'm just laughing because you're literally earning yourself a task for this week.
No, but
guess what you're designing?
Yeah, an illustration of these pillars and the bridge from each to each. And you have to create that bridge to like you. And then when you're on like you, you're there and you're like, okay, now the next bridge we need to build is to trust.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
the other example,
all seriousness though, this just became like one of those
Poster.
Instagram or LinkedIn slidey thingies.
oh yeah, 100%, like a carousel.
Everybody at home now knows that I am not the social media mastermind.
Yeah,
I say
slidey
thing.
Then you go like this, the slidey thing.
Like you swipe with your finger.
No, yeah, man, that, and then the idea of planting seed, like when you're in the know you phase, like you should be thinking as an entrepreneur, okay, they know me now, they know what we do, they know who we are. However, I need to be ahead of them a step of just like, how can I get them to now like me? A lot of the times, if you're doing good work and you're a good person and you're joyful to be around to any degree, people will just naturally like you. But then as you're in the like you phase, you're thinking, okay, I really want this person to trust me. I really want to work with them. How do I do that? And that's where you do the extra things. You go above and beyond to earn their trust. You send them a letter, a handwritten note, whatever it is. Those are the things like, oh man, this person really cares.
If you enjoyed this Brand Nerd Podcast clip, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. In the meantime, here are additional videos you might find illuminating.